it's getting late, and I should probably go home. It's getting dark, and I should keep my phone in my hand, just in case I need to make a call on demand. Just in case the streetlight shadows take the form of a man. Just in case I'm dragged into a big white van that wasn't there before, but now I can't get to my door without the fear of walking in to waiting hands. Just in case I'm walking on the ground's $1 bill, but if I pick it up, my breathing stalls and I get ill. Just a couple grains of fentanyl's enough to kill. Just in case someone sticks a tracking device into my purse. It doesn't get better, it only gets worse. I see 100 scenarios playing out across the parking lot. When I get into the car, I make sure the doors are locked. I look over my shoulder, I swivel my head, I keep someone on the phone. Do I sound paranoid yet? I know, to some of you I do. But some of you, you get it. You've either been there before or you're afraid it hasn't happened yet. That everything I've said has happened to women just like me that I've never met. Renee, Angel, Cynthia, Marina, Gina. There is a fear. There is a culture of fear that women from a young age operate within. And it isn't heart-pounding, breath-stopping, mind-racing every second, but it's omnipresent. It's a consciousness. And I think it started for me when I began to watch true crime, which admittedly I was very young. I was of the 48 Hours, 2020, Dateline NBC, 60 Minutes Forensic Files family, and every episode told the story of a young girl or woman, just like me, who had done nothing wrong, and yet was the victim, the target. I could be next. I could be next. Those words pulse in my mind, a faint neon sign in the back of my head. I could be next. And it never stopped me from laughing along with my friends or going out on the town on the weekends, but it was sitting, silent, biding its time, pitting, violent, striking my mind, rewriting the lines of my subconscious text, where I'm turned into a damsel in distress, where every dark corner could mean sudden death, and any man could have hands that demand to molest, and I could be good, could be doing my best, I could be safe, get a good night's rest, but I am always aware that I could be next. When I turned 18, my dad took me to the store and bought me pepper spray. I had just gotten my first job and was walking to my car after late night shifts. And he told me, be careful, Madison. Be careful. They look for young women like you. They. Who is they? It's the same they that my aunt warns me about vehemently. She has enough horror stories to fill this room and then some. And she had been telling them to my sister and I since I can remember. And every time she would tell me, I don't mean to lecture, I don't mean to preach, but someone's got to teach you these things. She fills my inbox with articles, 13 self-defense moves for women, what to watch for in parking lot safety for women, FAQ, etc., etc. She told me once of the time when she was at a gas station. She had just finished filling her tank and got into her car and locked the door when out of nowhere a man came up and began to pull on the handle trying to get in. And when he couldn't, he looked at her and then walked away. A missed opportunity. Now every time I get into the car, I lock the doors. I could be next. That fear sits next to me on the trolley. It follows me off the bus, like a group of men did to my friend when she was 16. I could be next. Now how do I know that it isn't just me? I'm being disturbingly honest when I say that every single one of my female friends has at least 5 stories about lewd, leering, lurking men who terrified them. The friend who had a man at the transit center say that he had been watching her for weeks. The friend who had a man come into work every single day to eye her and call her a pretty little thing and then walk away. The friend whose boyfriend used his fists instead of words in arguments. The friend who couldn't stop a man from calling her a dozen different phone numbers, but the word no did not translate to him. The friend who, while working at a restaurant, had a man tell her to smile for me, sourpuss. Just this week, I had a guy follow me from the pool to the elevator, to the staircase, because I didn't want to take the elevator. I didn't want to be in the elevator with him. I took the staircase and he followed me all the way up to my apartment floor. And he was talking to me. Even after I had walked past him, After saying a polite hi, but making it clear that I didn't want to talk, he persisted. And I didn't think to myself, he seems like a really nice social guy. I thought, why is he still following me? And maybe I should pretend like I live on the 3rd floor so that he doesn't know where I actually live, just in case. I could go on. I could go on and on and on. Ask any woman you know, and she probably could too. Let me tell you a story. I was working downtown last summer, and I took the bus and trolley into the city every day. I saw many disturbing things on my commute. Public transportation is another one of those places where women are or are told to be on guard. And so one night I was working late. I didn't want to take the trolley or the bus home at night, and I told my dad, asked him, could you please pick me up from the office downtown? He said, yes, of course, it isn't safe. So I go to work that day, did my work, and I was finished at around 8:45 p.m. I packed my bags, the office was completely empty. I went down the elevator, and the doors opened on an empty lobby. Nobody there. Security guard wasn't there. It was dark. Now, to paint a picture for you, this office had 2 large glass walls, and on each of them there was a doorway. But those doors, they locked after 5 p.m., and you had to press a button in order to get out. So I saw the door in front of me. I saw the button to unlock it. I saw my dad waiting in the car on the curb. I also saw a man standing in front of the door, wearing a large hoodie, hood up over his head, pacing in front of the door, back and forth. And I thought to myself, okay, I'm noticing it, I'm aware of it. I'm gonna wait until he walks away, push the button, get out of the door, go to the car, and we'll be all good. So I waited, and he walked away. I went up to the door and I pushed the button. But when I went to open the door, it wouldn't budge. So I thought to myself, okay, maybe it's not this door. Maybe it's the other door. I walk over to the other side of the lobby, and just as I'm approaching it and realizing there's no button on this door, I hear a noise from the other side of the room. The man had come into the lobby. Apparently, the button had delayed to unlock the door. It locked behind him, and it was just me and him, alone in this dark lobby. If I screamed, my dad couldn't get through the door to help me because it was locked. I had my pepper spray in my hand. I had my dad on the phone. I was whispering to him, hoping this guy didn't see me. Can you please come over here? He's in the room. My dad said, yeah, I'll come to the door right now. I didn't know what could have happened. He could have had a gun underneath his sweatshirt. He could have had a knife, but even his 2 hands were more than enough to do damage. Fortunately, he walked right back out the door, not noticing me, and it locked behind him when he tried to get back in. So I approached the door. My dad was coming up. He was going to stand between me and the man as I went out to the car. But as I approached the door, I could see through the glass. I saw this man's face for the first time. And then something happened that I will never forget. He looked me dead in the eye, and he smiled at me. I have never been more terrified in my life. That smile comes back to me 1,000 times in nightmares. I had never realized that a smile could be a weapon. But his was barbed, spiked. It caught on all the wrong parts of my body and left me bleeding fear. A smile can be a weapon, like the word sweetheart can turn my stomach over in nausea, painful and sickening like a drop of disguised poison. A smile can be a weapon, like roaming eyes can leave bruises on my body. No, he didn't do anything. But that smile was a promise. I could be next. I quickly pushed the button, the door unlocked, I got out, my dad stood between us. I went straight for the car, got in, locked the door behind me. My dad got in the driver's side, but the man had followed us over to the car. He was standing at my window yelling, "Your dad got right out and helped you, didn't he?" And he continued screaming the entire block down as we drove away. And I remember my dad telling me, "Madison, people like that can tell when you're afraid." And I remember thinking, it doesn't matter if I'm afraid. It doesn't matter how old I am. It doesn't matter where I am. It doesn't matter what I'm wearing. They look for young women like me, I could be next. And I remember then the fear turned into something else. More than anything, I was angry. I was furious that this is how girls and women like me have to live. We have to live with this fear. We have to accommodate for it. You can't act a certain way or wear certain things just in case, because God forbid something happen and it's your fault. But it's not. And that's the issue right there. The inappropriate behavior of men is not the responsibility of women. We all have a duty to correct this culture. It is the responsibility of all of us to hold perpetrators of this behavior accountable. And it's not just the murderers. It's not just the creeps. It's the men who come into the restaurant I work at and take my existence as an invitation to roam my body with their eyes. It's the men I go to school with who look at their female peers as nothing more than a means to an end, but whose behavior I'm supposed to dismiss because they're not mature enough to control themselves. It's the men we make excuses for that truly scare me. And it's the boys who witness the way things are and are not taught any better. As much as it's about fear, it's about respect. And I'm aware that it's not all men. I know that. I'm sure we can all agree that it's not. But it's nearly every woman who has experiences like this. And if you're thinking to yourself, I'm not a part of the problem, I want you to ask yourself, are you a part of the solution? Because if we're going to make movement, to strive for improvement, there is no exclusion, there is no exception. The world we live in is a reflection of what we tolerate. Even if it doesn't affect you, will you tolerate it affecting others? This is for the brothers, the fathers and husbands. This is for all of the men that we trust in. I have been told that I live through my words. My words are all that I have to offer you of my life, and I'm asking you to see through my eyes and the eyes of others. Angel, Renee, Cynthia, Marina, Gina, and more. Every woman I know has a story or four, and even if you're not part of the problem, is the problem something to be ignored? We shouldn't accept this reality as the way that it is and will always be. By that logic, any type of social change is completely hopeless. Don't you want to live in a world where your sisters, daughters, mothers, aunts, friends don't have to live with the fear, I could be next? I certainly don't. And I have hope. But for now, it's getting late, and I should probably go home. Thank you.